Hey, everybody, it's Tim.
And Joy.
Welcome to this week's Live and Found from your AI Wizards.
It's nice to be back.
It's nice to have you back.
It's been a
It's,
minute.
it's been a while since we've been in the same general location.
Well,
Um,
I do appreciate you carrying the baton while I was off on my honeymoon. So thanks for that.
you're welcome, but I'm glad to have you back. And I'm also glad that we're now going to go back and kind of do a refresh and a retrace of our steps. And we're going to start again with Signal One, which is our digital footprint or your digital footprint.
It's been, I know I say this all the time and I sound like a broken record, but I cannot believe how quickly things change in our little niche, which is AI search, how quickly things change, which is why we're going back around with all the signals. And we're going to do that again and continually do it because as we learn more, as AI gets smarter, we have to pivot. And that's just the world that we live in now. So, our digital footprint, what do you mean by that?
Well, our digital footprint is think of it as everywhere you brand, where you exist online, your website, your listings, your profiles, your posts. When we first introduced Signal One back in June, it was all about being found. But what we found lately, like you were just saying, with how we have to be, we like to say, I think Joy and I like to say a lot, we're building this to bend and not break. And so what we're doing is we found out that there were some more important issues underneath the layers, and that's how to connect, behave, and learn.
Well, um, and we're bringing our audience along in terms of it's not about keywords. AI from 6 months ago has gotten so much smarter when we talk about connection and relationships. It really doesn't look at keywords like this. It looks at everything and makes those connections. And that's why we're talking about your digital footprint, because that's what it is.
It's the connections. How are you connecting your website to your blog, to your social media posts, to your Google My Business? How are they all connected? Because those connections are so vital for AI to see who you are. I think the best analogy I have is it's like building a snowman. And I know it's going to sound weird, but to a human, when it's all said and done, to a human, the human sees the snowman, and it really we look at it and we say, "Oh, that's nice. Look at that cute snowman." What AI concentrates on is not so much the snowman; it's the footprints and the things that it used to build that snowman, and that's why it's so important to get all those connections strong so AI understands who you are.
Well, we hear the word metadata everywhere all the time. Let's talk about that first before we go into the next area. What do you
Right.
mean by that?
Well, metadata is the data of where are you everywhere. How are you describing yourself? Metadata literally means data about data. It's the background information that tells AI, search engines, and social platforms what your content is, how it should be displayed, and why it matters. So it's data about data.
Well, and one of the things in AI search is that you are going to hear, and what we say is the structure matters, and the structure matters. So when you talk about metadata, that's one of the aspects of it is how is your content structured? And we've talked about that a little bit, but when we say that, we mean bullet points, summaries at the top. Um, kind of like paragraphs that are structured in a, not kind of like, paragraphs structured in a certain manner and format, make it easy for AI to crawl it, scan it, learn from it, connect the dots. The easier you make it, the more you're going to profit from it. And I do mean profit.
Well, it's important. And well, let's take an example. Let's say you own a plumbing business, and on your website you have a picture of the staff. A human can look at that and say, "Oh, that's the plumbing company, and that's all the plumbers." AI is going to look at that and say, "That's just a bunch of people." But what you have to do, the metadata underneath the scene is like you have to name the file name, team photo of Johnson Heating and Plumbing staff in Colorado Springs. And then you have
Right.
to add alt text, which says Johnson Plumbing and Heating team outside of their Colorado Springs office. Hashtag Johnson Plumbing and Heating. And then a caption like, proud to serve our community for over 25 years. And then you have the schema behind that says when, where, and what. When is Johnson Hunting and Plumbing, where Colorado Springs, and what your premier plumbing plumbing suppliers, plumber for Colorado Springs. That's very important, and that's the metadata. The metadata is all those steps that make it easier for AI to find you.
Love it. Well, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about structure, schema, metadata, because as a piece of the pie, that's a big piece.
I would say it's the crust. and, and I'm going to be honest with it. It's the crust because it's really the thing that's holding it all together.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
And so having a good crust where AI can take a slice out of that pie and not have it fall apart is so vital for AI to find you first.
Well, and let's talk about one of the things that I love talking about, and that's bias in the data.
Bias in the data. Yeah, I'm going to defer to you because you've done so much research on this, and it shocked me. And be sure to, last couple of weeks ago, we talked about it, and we'll include that link today in our blog and in this discussion today about how you can read and go back to that discussion we had a couple of weeks ago. But Joy, if you could start, explain to everybody, what's bias in the data.
Well, and I kind of fell upon it by happenstance because I never even considered the impact of the bias in the data until we started really working in AI search. And what I mean by bias in the data is AI doesn't pick content or data from a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago. It goes back 20 years. So if you think about whatever industry that you're in, the data that is available to AI to pull from is heavily skewed toward men. And I'm not making any political statement. I don't even care. It just is. It's just one of those things that is. So you could be doing everything right. You could be updating your website. You could have an active social media platforms, accounts. You could be blogging. You could do all the things, and AI still won't recognize you because it has layers and layers and layers of information to pull from that are skewed towards men. So let's just take a couple examples. Let's say you're a woman electrician. 98% of people that are electricians are men. And that means they have put out a ton of information historically over the last 20 years. So even if you're doing everything right, your piece might be this big when you're competing against pieces of this much information. So women have to be more savvy in terms of getting AI to recognize their business. And it really isn't dependent on the industry um, where bias exists. Now, electrician in the trades, it's much more heavily weighted towards men, but even women lawyers or women mortgage brokers or other professions that are equal in number. Let's say there's more female mortgage brokers than men, they're competing against the data. So that's one thing that we have really niched down on, because once connections are made with AI, it's going to be so hard to overcome that. And women business owners have the opportunity right now to make the connection, and they need to make the connection because it's so, so important. So I could talk about bias in the data forever. Obviously, I'm animated about it. But if you want more information about it, please reach out to us, because it's kind of like a open window opportunity right now. And in 2026, that opportunity is going to be less and less. And we've developed strategies to get women to be found, and we want to share those. So,
Right. And I think you said a couple of weeks ago that it's the difference, it's now being intentional about what you're doing. Instead of fighting it, be intentional about how to niche in your business in that data.
yeah, and there's simple things you can do, and there's comprehensive things that you can do. And you honestly need to do both, because as AI becomes more powerful in the realm of search, you don't want to be left behind. Trust me, you do not want to be left behind.
And you're already, sorry folks, but many of you are already behind and you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I think the next stage that we discovered was that behavior level, or that behavior layer. What became so, we're working at correcting the data, but also the behavior level becomes so important in that process.
I'll talk about that a little bit. What do you
Okay,
mean by that?
well, the behavior level is where AI meets reality. That's the best way I can describe it. It's not reading content anymore. It's about watching those interactions we talked about. It learns through what we do as users, through our clicks, our comments, our dwell time on websites or on FAQs, and shares. It's all the signals that AI is using that prove that humans are interested. And one of the things AI loves is if humans are interested, then that sparks interest in AI. So it's telling everybody that this content isn't just accurate, it's relevant.
Well, and I think the alarming thing about behavioral aspects of AI search is AI is watching everything that you do, and it is creating a profile of you to serve you up what AI thinks that you want, need, or are looking for. Now, think about that. That should scare everybody. It scares me, and I love AI. But I used to say, this is hilarious. I used to say, I don't know how long ago, but a year ago, if you think you have any privacy, don't kid yourself. If you've bought one thing off of Amazon, you don't have any privacy. That went out the door. So I don't know anybody that thinks they have privacy in this world. If you have a cell phone and you have bought something from Amazon. Having said that, AI has gotten very smart at creating a profile of you and serving you up things that it thinks that you want. Now we're sitting here at the end of 2025, and you think back a year ago and where we are today in 2026, you want to be part of the answer that AI gives to somebody. And let's just use me for an example, because you know how I love to buy shoes. So, how many pair of shoes have I bought online this year? Well, now it's boot season and I'm shopping for boots. So, how many coupons, ads, sales, blah, blah, blah am I getting in my feed all the time? That's AI.
And
My
that's, yeah.
my profile is set and I can't undo it because I bought how many pair of boots last year, and they want to sell me more boots.
I think the key to this is that right now, AI visibility and AI behavior are inseparable. AI is a servant, and people can talk about it being, going to take over the world. No, AI is a servant, and it's a servant to what we want to see. And it's trying hard to find what we want to see. And as a business, that means you want to make sure that you become AI's go-to. And that's the whole point of Signal One, is to get you that digital footprint started so that the AI starts trusting you and your business because you're sending AI all the right signals.
Well, and yesterday I had a meeting with a guy. I don't even know where he was from. And, he asked me what I did. It was a mutual connection, blah, blah, blah. We did all the intro things. And he said, what industries do you work in, or who do you work with? And I said, one of our primary industries is family law attorneys, because if you're thinking about getting a divorce or you are going to get a divorce, you don't tell people, you search online. And AI, you're signaling AI of what your need is, and it wants to answer that question. It wants to fill that need. So let's say, you're getting a divorce, you have kids, young kids, and you want to know about spousal support or child support. The law firm that has that information on their website, in a blog, on a video, in a post, has given AI a complete picture of that subject. And then you may be the answer that AI delivers up to that woman. That's how it works. That's your digital footprint. That's what we're talking about.
And
AI wants to give you the answer that you're searching for. And however you have your digital footprint, whether it's complete, incomplete, or not existent, is how AI is going to select the answer.
And it's going to have, and you have to be connected. So that blog, that FAQ, that web page, that post, all need to be interconnected. So AI has that pathway, or your digital, let's call it the digital footprint pathway to you.
Yeah, totally.
And that's why it's vital. And that's why we're going through these signals again, because we've learned so much since June when we first introduced them, that we went back and we thought, we've learned so much. We need to go back and make sure these signals are strong and are bright. So look for the next few weeks. We're going to do Signal 2 next week, which is an important signal about you making sure that you keep strengthening those signals with Signal 2 and Signal 1, retracing our steps this week, because we want to make sure you're shining bright and being found first.
That's our goal. All right. Good to be back.
Watch us again next week when we do Signal 2. Remember to follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X. Catch previous episodes of Live and Found on our YouTube channel. And we're looking forward to seeing you next week.
All right. Take care.
Bye now.